Dr. Walter Wendler says he wants the Panhandle Plains Historical Museum to stay on the WT campus.
But he says he needs several things to happen for that to work. KMR Local 4's Jack Kessler has that story.
Andy Mari, if you remember, in mid-December, Dr. Wendler and the PPHS Board of Trustees had a meeting. And also on that same day, Dr. Wendler delivered a letter to the society to submit a plan by February 1st that will outline the transfer of artifacts from the museum to an appropriate location. Now, Dr. Wendler in that letter also said that since the PPHM functions as a storage facility for artifacts, and he is requesting that WT and PPHS split the monthly cost of maintaining the facility and utilities equally beginning February 1st until it is vacated. Now, Mark White, a trustee for the Panhandle Plains Historical Society, says that timeline is not enough time to come up with a plan.
No, and I told him that we would do this on our own timeline. We're gonna continue to communicate with him, but we're not going to have him dictate to us the timeline. We are going to propose to him the timeline on which we can work to get the artifacts moved. But it's going to take a little time to put that scenario together. So we will communicate with him as he requested, and by February 1st, we'll be talking to him about what we are doing in terms of preparing that, but we don't consider the February 1st deadline to be a hard deadline to actually give him a finished timeline product.
Now, Dr. Wendler told me today it is a very demanding timeline, but they need to resolve these issues.
Is that in February, even if it's a preliminary plan, to share some ideas about next steps for us is very important. I think the dialogue and the communication is critical. And we've been working largely on our own, trying to generate plans and ideas about what we could do to continue to support the museum. And you know, it requires a lot of work. And I think the main thing to do is get started with it.
White also talked about Wendler's request to splitting the monthly costs of maintaining the facility and utilities equally until the collection is moved out.
Our reaction was, I don't know that we were surprised to hear that, but our reaction was pretty negative to that. His reasoning is that it's because the building no longer functions as a museum. It's just a storage facility. But it's a storage facility because he closed the museum. Because the A&M system had not maintained it.
And I understand the reaction because we've managed to do this over many, many years to actually absorb the costs of the museum into the university budget. It's not a line item on any budget. We just have to take it out of the general budget. And it's an expense that's very difficult for us to support.
Now, at that news conference following that meeting, Dr. Wendler stated that he personally believed finding or building a facility on or near Interstate 40 in Amarillo that could house the society's collection makes sense. But today he told us that he is not in favor of moving the museum to Amarillo. He would like it to stay in Canyon. In fact, he thinks it's perfect on the WT campus. He says to do that, he needs two things. First, a stream of income to make the building safe. And second, a durable stream of income of $100,000 a month for WT to properly manage the building.
And the building will probably need to be a new building, or modifications to the building would probably need to be to shrink the building. That's what I want to talk with PPHS about. How much smaller can we make the building? What do we need to do to the collection to make it appropriate to house it in a smaller facility that doesn't cost as much for us to maintain, to reduce that $100,000 a month?
In studio, Jack Kessler, KMR Local 4 News. Mari, Andy, back to you.
Jack, thank you. Dr. Wendler says WT's partnership with PPHS still stands.
If you want to see the latest on the meeting from tonight and the ongoing discussion, we have that over on our website, myhighplains.com.